Okay, folks, we're ready to start. Councillor Gill sorted now. Yes, I think so. So welcome to the meeting. I'm Councillor Steele and I'll be chairing today's subcommittee. To introduce the officers, to my right is the Planning Officer Victoria Taylor and Subcommittee led by Gemma Percy. To my left is John Wiley from Democratic Services. Within the meeting room, we also have my fellow subcommittee members as well as members of the public. We also have with us remotely a councillor who is speaking on an application being considered today, Councillor Talbot. Okay, good. So members are to note the information given by officers and speakers. Any decision proposed which is contrary to the recommendation contained in the report will require reasons if the proposal is to refuse and reasons and conditions if the proposal is to approve the application. In accordance with the Council's equality policy, speakers are asked to refrain from making any comments which could be construed as being discriminatory or defamatory, otherwise it would be necessary to intervene. Please ensure mobile phones are switched on to silent to avoid any disruption to the meeting, and also whilst you are not speaking, can you put yourself on mute if you've not already done so. Via procedure, if the fire alarm sounds, you'll be directed where to go. Please follow the instructions given by the officers. Oh, sorry. No, we only have one item on. Oh, yes, sorry. I knew I'd done something. So are there any declarations of pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest? No? Oh, Councillor Lee.
Well, only to say on the planning application number 5, there is a big comment with regards from the IDB in North Beverley and North Holderness. Now, I am a member of that, although obviously we're appointees, if you like, on the outside bodies list. So I just wanted to make that point. Whether or not that's required or not, I don't know.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dennis.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. I have to make the same declaration. I'm a member of North Holderness IDB.
In that case, perhaps I should as well, because I'm also a member. Thank you. Any more? No. Okay, so we move on to approve as a correct record the minutes of the subcommittee meeting held on the 7th of April. Moved by Councillor Heslop-Millans, seconded by Councillor Casson. Thank you. And withdrawals, do we have any withdrawals?
No withdrawals, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. So we have just the, we start with we're doing that way. Yeah, sorry, I thought there was a change. So starting with item 5, this is the Burden Road play area in Beverley. Do we have any updates on this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. As you say, the application seeks full planning permission for the erection of a building for use as a youth and community centre, works to create outdoor gym area and cycle path and associated works and infrastructure, and this is on part of the play area at Burden Road in Beverley. Just by way of update, since the agenda was published, we've received revised landscaping details showing minor changes, including shrub planting moved inside the fence of the facility. Comments have been received from the tree officer confirming no objections to the application subject to conditions relating to implementation of the arboricultural and tree report recommendations, including protection measures and implementation of the hard and soft landscaping details in accordance with the approved plans. We've also received comments from Yorkshire Water, who confirm no objections to the drainage proposals. They comment that though the site is located in a source protection zone, the proposal is considered to be of low risk to groundwater. General comments are also provided in relation to the provision of a water supply and protection of Yorkshire Water infrastructure. As a result of the publicity period expiring on the 2nd of May and the comments of outstanding consultees being received, the application is now recommended for approval today without the need for deferral. And this would be subject to amendments to condition 1 to include the amended landscaping plan and to include the first of the potential drainage conditions which were listed in the agenda for you. Thank you.
Thank you. We have just one speaker on this item, Mr. Corner, the applicant. All right, Mr. Corner, you have 3 minutes. You'll be given a reminder when 30 seconds remain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. Good afternoon, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of this application today. Your time is very much appreciated. I would also like to express my appreciation to your plan officer and colleagues for the professional manner in which they've dealt with this application. As you're aware, this application has been facilitated by the DIY SOS team in support of the Cherry Tree Youth Hub. Our aim is to provide a facility that the charity can use to bring much needed help to the local children and the wider community. This build would not be possible without the help and support of the local businesses, tradespeople and volunteers, and I would like to express our thanks to all involved for their support. As officers have reported, it is a relatively small site, but the benefits will be felt for years to come. Within the report, there are a number of identified issues, and I would like to address the main issues with your permission. But this has now changed because Yorkshire Water have now confirmed their agreement. We have been working with Yorkshire Water to agree the details. The Clargester previously shown on the plans has now been removed, and we're discharging through a private pumping station into the foul drains to the rear of 1 Wilberforce Crescent. And I would like to express our thanks and gratitude to those residents as well. The surface water will connect to the surface water sewer to the north of the building, and all the details and discharge rate have been agreed by Yorkshire Water, and we have that in writing also. The second issue was landscaping, and as Victoria's just said, the amended landscaping plan has now moved all the shrub planting inside our compound, what we call our compound area, and the gym equipment previously proposed to the north of the site has also been moved inside. This will remove any future monetary obligation for maintenance from the local authority, as full maintenance will be the remit of the charity. We are, however, having to plant a number of trees to the north part of the Red Line application site, and that is to satisfy the requirements of the biodiversity net gain analysis matrix that we prepared and submitted. We are keen to leave the park in a very much usable state, and we are talking to your open space officers about repairing a number of small areas within the site as well with extra safety surfacing. So all this work will greatly enhance the park for the benefit of the wider community, and I'm sure you all agree that this is an important project and its benefits will be felt by the residents of Beverley for years to come. Therefore, I kindly request that you approve this application. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Corner. Just take a seat back where you were. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. What a wonderful project, long overdue, very much needed in the town of Beverley. I'm happy to move for approval on this.
Thank you, Councillor. I have to say I was intrigued by the air skier. I think I want to be a child again and go and have a go on them all. So anyone else wishes to speak on this? Or Councillor Johnson.
Thank you very much, Chair. I'd just like to say that this is a much needed resource for the children of Beverley. Youth services in Beverley have been decimated over the years, and this innovative new building will ensure that the 90 odd children who attend the Cherry Tree Youth Centre will have shelter, warmth and somewhere to go, because at the moment they have nowhere. They're just stuck out in the wind and the rain, and it's just so important that we approve this and give it our full support, because let's face it, our kids are just so important, and we should be nurturing them, and this is what this will do. And I can almost assure you that they will be looking after those trees when they're planted, and they will be really looking after this new resource that they've got, because they're very proud of it and they're all getting involved. And the build starts on Wednesday, although they're on site already. And much credit to Cherry Tree supporters, to the trustees and so on, who've got Do It Yourself SOS involved in highlighting the issues that these kids have got. So I would like to second Councillor Smith's proposal to approve. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Anyone else wish to speak on this? I think everything's probably been said. Sorry, did you have your hand up? No? Okay. Well, as I say, it looks like very exciting development, and as you say, very worthwhile for the young people. So I think we'll just take that as,
So it's been moved and seconded, Chairman, subject to the amended conditions that the planning officer referred to. So it's all those in favour. That's everyone, Chairman.
thank you. That is approved. Thank you. Right, folks, the next item is the Beechwood Gypsy Bank Bridlington application.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, this is item 4, page 7. Members are, just to give you an update on this one. This was considered at the previous committee meeting and it was deferred for a site visit, which, as you're aware, obviously was cancelled. That was just as a result of, as I understand, some further amendments being made to the application and also some further publicity that needed to be carried out once we'd already finalised the agenda. So the recommendation we have for you today is to please defer this application. There obviously will be a site visit rearranged before the next meeting, and obviously by the time we come back, we should have completed all the rest of the publicity and consultation periods that we need, and we'll be able to report to you all of the facts and information about any amendments that have been made and any responses that we've had. So as I said, the recommendation for today is to defer this application and report back to the next available committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have someone that would propose that suggestion? Thank you.
Yeah, I propose that we do that. Yes.
Councillor Heslop-Mullins, a seconder. Councillor Dennis. Okay. Go straight to the vote then, please.
So it's recommended to be deferred to a subsequent meeting of the subcommittee. So you're voting for or against deferral. All those in favour?
The application is approved. Thank you. Sorry, deferred for approval. That's all we need to consider, I think. On to the planning appeals. Okay.
Yep, so that's all the applications concluded for today. We've just got some appeals to report for you. So first one is item 6A, page 63. This is a householder application. It didn't come before committee. It was a delegated decision. This was seeking a reconstruction of a dormer extension to the front of 5 Moulton Drive at Bilton. This is a single-storey bungalow in a little estate of similar properties. This is refused basically on design grounds. The dormer considered not to be an appropriate addition to the street scene due to its scale, its sighting, its appearance. It's quite a short decision, you can see, but the inspector basically agrees with our recommendation on that and upheld the dismissal. So that's a good outcome on that one. And again, another one of these ones where we're looking to try and raise that bar on design, and we seem to be getting support, which is great. So that's that one. Any queries? No. Item 6B, page 66. This was a committee item. This is Broadgate Reservoir at Walkington. So it's just out between Walkington and Beverley. So it's a former reservoir. You may remember, I think it was maybe sometime last summer we had this at committee, recommended for refusal. So the proposal was to change the use of the reservoir into a dwelling, and that included an extension to the property and quite extensive alterations. And is recommended for 2 reasons for refusal. The first one related to the sort of strategy of where we locate new housing. The sites in the countryside, albeit quite close to both Beverley and Walkington, sort of in between the two. It's next door to the quarry. You might be aware of it on the way into Beverley. So the first reason, like I said, it was about principle of development, and our assessment was that the works to the reservoir were very, very extensive and would have been tantamount really to a new build, sort of within the shell of where the reservoir is. The inspector did a fairly short consideration on this issue and actually didn't find conflict with that policy, which we did. So didn't agree with us on that reason, would have been satisfied with that in principle. However, the second reason for refusal, this related to the actual living conditions for the occupiers of this dwelling. And the concern that we had, which was supported by objections from our public protection team, was in relation to noise and disturbance from the quarry. And it was sort of a twofold issue. It was the impact on the residents who would live live here, and also then the impact on the quarry itself. If the residents living there were to then raise concerns and complaints about the activities at the quarry, which obviously then can have knock-on effects on the business. So we actually had objections from the quarry as well. So you can see quite a long assessment on that issue from the inspector, and the overall conclusion there was that they agreed with our concern in both elements. So both that the residents living there wouldn't have a satisfactory standard of amenity, and that if they lived there, they would then likely cause potential adverse impacts on the business operator, which would be unreasonable. So it was dismissed, this appeal, but the inspector only accepting on the amenity grounds and the sort of impact on the business rather than in principle. So a 50-50 on that one, I would say. The next one, this is item 6C, page 71. And I'll cover this also with 6D, which is on page 76, because it's the same site. So this is one in Hornsey. I'm afraid I don't know whether this was a committee one or not. It's not one in my area, but the application was a variation application. So we granted planning permission for a dwelling, and in doing so, we'd put a number of conditions on. One of those conditions was removing the permitted development rights for this dwelling to be able to add more extensions or additions in the future. One of them relates to the approved plans. So the variation sought two issues. One was the design of a garage element that was proposed at the front of the building. And as I understand it, the original application proposed quite a large front extension as a garage, and it had been amended during the course of the application to make that smaller and more acceptable. And this variation sought basically to go back to the original version they wanted by varying the approved plans. And then the second element was they were seeking to remove that condition that stops them from adding more alterations and extensions in the future. So again, the inspector goes through those two issues. In respect of the garage extension, or rather the garage element of the extension, the inspector found that that amendment would be acceptable. It wouldn't be harmful to the street scene. He was happy with the design, so that was accepted and allowed. And in respect of the condition that removed the permitted development rights, the inspector said they were satisfied that the permitted development rights themselves do obviously provide some restriction as to what you can do, how much you can extend and where you can put windows and things, and therefore the inspector felt it was unreasonable in this case to actually prevent them from having those permitted development rights. So the outcome was that the appeal was allowed, which means they can build the house with the larger front garage, and they would in the future, once they've built the house, have the benefit of permitted development rights. The second decision, which was item 6D, was a costs application. So the appellant claimed our decision was unreasonable in preventing them from having that larger garage and removing the permitted development rights. The inspector dismissed the appeal for costs, which is a good outcome. So obviously, although we've not won the appeal and the appellant has got what he wanted, the inspector has said that the decision of the council wasn't unreasonable, which is a really key difference. So you can have a difference of opinion, but it doesn't have to be an unreasonable decision. So the good thing with that one, although we didn't win the appeal, we didn't lose any costs. So sort of a half, again, 50-50 win on that one. Next one is item 6E, page 78. This relates to a site called Florida in Burstwick. So this is actually outside of Burstwick. It's a domestic property where they'd erected a building without planning permission. Again, this wasn't a committee item. It was a delegated decision. It was retrospective application. As I understand it, the people who run this business moved their business to their home during COVID, or perhaps just after COVID, built this building and operated the business there. The key issue with this application was down just to flood risk, and it was quite an interesting issue because, as you know, we go through lots of applications with flood risk, and the site itself where they've built the building is not in a high flood risk zone; it's in flood zone 1. Or it was, sorry, I should say, at the time of the appeal. But the access to the site is in high risk flood zone 3. So the policy about flood risk applies not just to where you build the building, but also how you access the site. So unfortunately, although there are obviously benefits to having a commercial enterprise here, and I would just add that this site, the reason we didn't have any other reasons to refuse this application is that although it's a domestic property, it's actually surrounded by lots of commercial properties, and there's a small industrial estate on the outskirts of Burstwick. So it was deemed to be an appropriate location in principle, and we didn't have any concerns about it affecting anyone else amenity-wise. So it was just this flood risk issue. And so it's quite a long assessment, but the reason for that is the inspector goes through all the, there's a bit of case law that was mentioned by the appellant, and he goes through national policy and how you apply the sequential test as to where you should put new development. And The inspector concluded that our judgment, which was that unfortunately the application failed a sequential test because there would be other sites they could erect this building and have it accessed that wouldn't be in the same risk of flooding, and therefore they should put it in that other alternative location. So it's a policy flood risk objection, and it was upheld by the inspector. And just out of interest, just quite recently, there's been an update to the flood maps from the Environment Agency, and now the entire site does actually lie in a high risk flood zone. So actually, it's quite good we won the appeal, because obviously it means that there obviously is risk there, which is going to be greater in the future. And obviously, hopefully, we will have to look at enforcing now, because obviously this is a retrospective application, but it does mean that we've made the right judgment here and that it shouldn't be in this location because of the flood risk. So good outcome on that one. And the last one is item 6F, which is page 82. And this was a lawful development certificate application. So again, not something that comes before committee. Ultimately, this was the applicant saying the use of this land is lawful for storage, what we call a B8 use. And they were just trying to say through their application that for a number of years, in this case 10 years, they've operated an unauthorised use, which due to the passage of time has become lawful. We refused the application because the evidence from the applicant was very, very thin. There was very little there. There was a few photographs purporting to show various activities at various times, but not very much else in terms of any supporting commentary or sworn statements, etc. So our conclusion was we couldn't be convinced that there was evidence of a continuing use in that vein of a B8 storage use. So that was refused. Again, this is obviously an operation that's going on the land, so it's another one for the enforcement team to look at. It may well be that use could be supported there, but obviously when it's a lawful development certificate application, we're not looking at planning merits, we're looking solely at facts and whether or not, as a matter of fact, or on the balance of probability, I should say, there has been a breach that's lawful. So that was dismissed, and obviously we'll be following that up with the applicant now to see what happens next. And that's everything. Any questions or queries on any of that?
Hope it's been inwardly digested. We apply it to our considerations. Okay, and I think that completes the meeting. Thank you, folks.